Is your camp a good community partner? As organizational psychologist Adam Grant would ask, are you a giver or just a taker? Today, we're talking about how day camps can really connect with their local schools, businesses, municipalities, charities, etc. But that means getting off your computer, out of your office, and embedding yourself into your community. This isn't about salesmanship or gimmicks. It's about relationships and showing up in ways that matter. We've got Marissa and Allie from Rolling River, as well as Heath from Shibley, to share their perspectives and ideas and inspire you to position your camp as a respected organization on the other side of your camp fence. This is the Day Camp Pod.
This is the Day Camp Pod from Go Camp Pro, bringing you the best ideas, strategies, and discussions in the day camp industry. You can find our show notes at daycamppodcast.com.
The Day Camp Podcast is brought to you by CRS, Commercial Recreation Specialist, go-to source for recreation solutions that will ensure that your camp thrives. Explore their website today at CRS or Rec. CRS is very fun. Let me tell you about CampMinder, the #1 camp database in the world. It has the most robust offerings and services found anywhere. Every feature works together to create a policy system that helps your camp office run more efficiently while giving your camp families state-of-the-art communication and financial. Check out the details at campminder.com.
Your mission is campers. Whereabouts' mission is making their experience coordinated and connected. Whereabouts is the only camper management system that keeps parents, admin, and staff in sync in real time, so every camper's day runs with confidence, clarity, and care. Check them out today at whereaboutsapp.io.
Welcome back to the Day Camp Podcast. I'm Andy Pritikin, Director of Liberty Lake in the Philly suburbs, New Jersey.
I'm Sam Thompson from Crystal Lake Park District in Crystal Lake, Illinois.
And I'm Jordanna Grossinger, Director of Camp Robin Hood in Ontario, Canada.
And today we are going back to Long Island, my friends. We have Heath returning again. And as Heath was leaving us the other day, he said, we really should talk to the Rolling River ladies, pardon me. I'm going to do that 29 times. But I have his relationship with Rolling Hills too.
Rolling Rock, Rolling Hills,
The Rolling River ladies, because they do a lot of, Heath, as he had mentioned in his bio, used to work there and he learned a lot with them, and they do a lot of this also community engagement stuff. So that's why we brought them in. So how's it going, Allie, Marissa?
Good. Thanks for inviting us today. Yeah, we are very excited to represent Long Island camps. So
That's great.
community.
Well, listen, I want to give you guys a major shout out, because besides just like always being super supportive and being super friendly and helpful for your colleagues and all, you guys opened your doors in the fall of 2020 to do the day camp conference at your place when everybody was still freaking out with masks and all those kind of things. And it was probably the first thing that any of the camp directors had done with other people that wasn't at their own camp. Right?
Mhm.
For the people that actually did open, but for a lot of people who didn't open, I mean, it was awesome. And to see all of my little smiley friends, even if it was from the nose up, who I had spent all this time with on Zoom, and seeing online and all that kind of stuff. It was really, really awesome. So I really, really will always appreciate you guys and your parents for spearheading that and making it happen.
Thank you. Well, yeah, no, it was a great event where we were happy to host.
Yeah, it was super, super memorable. It was
Yeah.
great. It really brought that feeling of community amongst the camp,
Absolutely.
the day camps.
Especially in a time that, we didn't have that community feel. So it was great that we were able to host everybody and bring everybody back and show them that the camp spirit is still alive during that time.
Yeah, during the bonkers time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so tell us, you guys, your camp stories. Like, when did you first go to camp? How'd you, how did it sort of work your way up to where you are now? And did you guys ever go to any other camps besides Rolling River?
Such a great question. Yeah, so we actually come from a long line of people, our family being in camp. So our grandparents met at sleepaway camp in the 1940s, and they loved camp, that they sent their own kids to camp. And then our parents, Ronza and Mark, met at Camp Kent in 1975. They were both counselors there. So they were educators as well and super excited about camp and loved it. And in 1992, they bought a camp on Long Island in East Rockaway, which was at the time called Camp Millette, which had been an operating camp since the 1950s and 60s, around that time. And they transformed it over to Rolling River. So myself and Allie and our brother John, actually, we literally started at camp when we were 2 years old at some other camps, and, worked our way kind of to Rolling River. And we were really excited to be basically the first campers enrolled at Rolling River Day Camp in 1993. So we started off as campers. We stayed here, went to sleepaway camp for a little bit, perhaps to Camp Aquatic. And John was at Camp Wayne. We really enjoyed that time, and then came back to work as counselors, and then worked real jobs, in schools, and I worked in the city. And then we decided we loved camp so much that we wanted to come back and work here full time. So now myself and Allie and John and our sister-in-law, Lisa, all work year round. And we're on the third, generation of our family going to camp. All of our kids are campers here. And it's just a really fun, cool story and an awesome atmosphere. And just to make it even more, crazy, I met my husband at Rolling River when we were 17. And my brother met his wife at Rolling River when they were 18. So, and Heath met his wife at Rolling River as well. So,
This is true.
if you know anybody that's single, you could just come to camp.
And the Rolling River matchmaking
Come on.
service.
Yeah, exactly. Funny, really fun. So now we both work as directors, like I said, here with our brother John, and it's great. It's so much fun, and it's a really great community. And we've been here now working about 15 years on the leadership side.
Do your kids understand the amount of pressure they're under?
Not working. Yeah. Yeah, no, not yet. They're gonna know soon. There's 6 grandchildren, and there are times where they do bring up, oh, you're going to be in charge of the facility, and you're going to be in charge of but so the conversation is slightly starting, but I feel like the pressure point hasn't gotten that far yet. So they're just enjoying their time now.
All right. So, and you guys trained your boy Heath. You got to be super proud of him, right? Of like what he's been able to accomplish.
I was really lucky. I started in high school. Their father and mother hired me. I started as an assistant counselor and then became group leader. And as I said last time, when I was teaching, I did a lot of leadership stuff part-time, doing tours and starting to get into the marketing and programming. And their parents really trained me. And then it was really cool because Marissa was out in the real world doing actual marketing and had a real business background. And so she actually came back after being away for a couple of years. And then we worked very closely together before I took the leap out to find my own thing.
Yeah. What's nice is that it just brings, us even closer, because now we, work together, and, if there's anybody that, calls us for a lead and it's too far, then we'll just call Heath and tell them, to go to Shibley. So, we're still together. We're still working together. Bible days. Yeah. Just in different
That's
fields.
awesome.
Yes.
So,
in summer we're texting constantly, and actually most of the year.
Yeah.
So the crux of this podcast, we're going to talk about, marketing in the off season and such like that. But we really want to get into the community engagement part that you guys focus on so much. And I think it's really, it's in a way low hanging fruit, but it's also in a way it's hard. And it's, you got to put yourself out there. It's a lot of times, a lot of effort, sometimes for nothing, but you just don't know, where it's going to hit and all. So of course, you guys, you have your branding and you have your website, you got your logo all over the place, and, look behind Heath, it's like Shibley world, right? But then on top of that, it's, positioning yourself as not just a taker in the community, but as a giver, as a community partner, right? And something I've said on the podcast many times that some wise person said to me when I had first started is, you should be able to run for mayor in your town. Like, you should be seen as a resource, not just at, people driving down the street going, oh, those lucky kids that could afford to come, that go there, they're really lucky, right? It should be like, oh, that's the place we had our second grade, whatever they are, or those are the people that came to our school, those are the people we saw at that parade, right? So how do you guys sort of see, what I'm talking about. What's your version of that?
Yeah. Heath, do you want to start and then we'll talk about
Well,
more what we're saying.
You have to. We all look for opportunities to get into the communities, and we're really looking for anything involving families. So there's the obvious camp fairs that we're all invited to, but we kind of go beyond that and look for just kids fairs. Things like kindergarten orientations. We'll reach out and sponsor coffee at the kindergarten orientation, and maybe even at something like that, not show up because you don't want to take away from the event, but they see you there. But other events like that, just sending people who are representative of you that become familiar. I wrote down, be persistent and consistent, right? You can't show up once at an activity and expect everybody to follow you, right? You have to become, like Ann just said, recognizable and become the mayor in the town. And so it's finding these activities that are really, really good and then hitting them over and over and over again until people just know who you are and expect to see you there. And sometimes they're disappointed when you're not there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of a different viewpoint of it because, as Heath mentioned, I did work at an advertising agency that's focused on experiential marketing and event marketing prior to working at Rolling River. And the main crux of what I did was execute sponsorship activations. And what that means is, for example, Verizon was our client and they would buy sponsorships at a variety of concerts or a venue or a sports team. And then there would be assets that you can use to create a program. And I think what that taught me was the power of partnerships in general and working together and how it more than doubles what you get back in it in one way or another. Because again, if you're looking at just putting out an ad to say, oh, Rolling River, oh, Shibley is the best camp, that's a different value than if you're connecting yourself to a PTA or to an organization that people already trust. And you see companies, again, like Verizon, multi-billion-dollar companies, they will spend millions of dollars to just connect themselves, for example, at the time with the New England Patriots, because the Patriots fans are so obsessed with their team that if they see Verizon there, you already built that level of trust. So I think that was something that really changed my whole mindset prior to coming back to camp. And that was one of the first things that I did when I did come back to camp was what are ways that we can look to connect on obviously a much smaller level. Yes, I'd love to connect with the, a sports team, but even just within your community who trusts you and how can you build those partnerships and looking for those opportunities to work together and collaborate. So it's the most important thing I think that any camp could do or really any business could do, at all. We work with a lot of schools within the community also. I'm also a teacher, so I'm in the schools as well. And working with the schools, you don't really have to promote, your camp as much and no one's really talking about it, but every event that we have, it goes home in their newsletter and it goes home in their folders and it goes, so people are not thinking about camp for their 18-month-old, but if they're constantly seeing it in their child's backpack for years, then when they decide that they want to come to camp, there's no other camp that they're going to look at. They just come to a river because they've been at that school for 3 years on. So we've been doing that as well. And we'll, sometimes sponsor events there, but again, partnering with the schools and the communities were fantastic.
Yeah, I love that you're talking about that long-term payoff too, right? And that consistency and that persistence, like it builds up over time. And I think like you're also talking about your background. A lot of people, when they think of like marketing camp, and we've talked about this before, it's scary for a lot of people who don't have that marketing or advertising background. And sometimes it's a little bit not to call, like we've all been there where it's a bit of a cop out, right? Where we're like, oh, well, that's not my background. I can't do that. But it's amazing. And you're reminding us that it's all about relationships. And like, that's our superpower as camp people. So it's like everyone can do that if you really just are strategic, right? And dig into those partnerships and those relationships. So, and what does going into schools or showing up as these community partners actually look like for you? Like, can you give us some more examples of like what it means for you and for schools when you go in there?
So because One of the simplest example is I know that like school PTAs are always looking for volunteers, right? Whether it's, book fairs or whatever they're doing. So, I'll see them on Instagram, looking for parents, and I'll say, well, we're not a parent, but we're a partner. We'll sponsor or we'll show up and we'll run your book fair and stand there with our Shibley shirts and do whatever you like, and then it builds up to the big events that they're having as well, whether it's like they do school block parties in the city or, fall events and things like that, where they want activities, they want entertainment, and we know they have no budget. So we can offer them, to bring an inflatable gaga court or bring a whole bunch of big games, enhance their event and make it memorable for them. And then everybody gets some value out of it.
Yeah. And 100% agree with Heath, about getting into the schools in a variety of different ways. For day camp, as Allie had mentioned, you start so young. You have a lot of people that are starting to look at you already when their child is only 1 or 2. So not only just the public schools, but a lot of the preschools, a lot of the daycare centers, which way can you get in that realm? The other day, our street team went in and helped out with a parent night out for, 2 and 3-year-olds. So going in, not necessarily even just during the day, but on the weekends is obviously something that you could do as well. Another strategy that we actually have too, as far as with the school, is you don't even have to always go there. You can invite them to come to you. And I know that Heath does that as well at Shibley. And at Rolling River, we do that in a few different ways. We have events that are open to the public that will ask the PTAs, do you want to come and set up a booth for free and fundraise or help give out information there? Or offering a discounted opportunity for graduation picnics or a site that they can use, for a field trip that they're doing. So depending on where your camp is located, I think it's a two-way street, definitely being active in a variety of ways in the school, but also seeing what ways can you utilize your facility, for them to come to you.
A lot of school districts also have a newsletter of their own, and sometimes it's hard to get into that newsletter at the beginning. But once you build that relationship with them, if you're the only camp advertising in their peach jar, those parents are seeing your name over and over in their school district information as well. And so that's helpful.
Peach jar.
That's what they call their newsletter.
Well, so Sam's a nonprofit. It's a lot easier for her to jump into a school's newsletter than it is for a private camp. I find that you really have to position this as, what can I do to scratch your back if you're going to scratch my back? You cannot go into these things with a PTO or a school or whatever the organization is without something that you're offering up. And you guys shared an awesome flyer that you probably sent to organizations, which is really great. That gives them a whole bunch of options. And I've seen Adam Wallach had a similar one when he was back at Kiwi that he had shared with me. You're sort of giving them a little bit of a Greek diner menu of these are the kind of things that we can do for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're serving the same children. And once you approach it that way and get them to realize that you're trying to help build their students as well, then they're a lot more receptive.
The Day Camp Podcast is brought to you by CRS, Commercial Recreation Specialist, your go-to resource for the latest programming and recreation solutions to help your campers thrive. Check out the all-new Water Tag, where campers suit up in special vests to blast away with high-powered water launchers for the ultimate splash battle. Rev up the fun with new Pump Tracks, a modular, easy-to-install bike course that brings the need for speed to any camp setting. And when it's time to cool down, Flex Shade delivers stylish, innovative shade with maximum coverage and minimal impact on your site. CRS offers prefabricated cabins, pavilions, and restroom buildings, everything you need to create a better camper experience. For more info, visit crs4rec.com. That's CRS, the number 4, RECK.com. CRS is serious about fun.
I was just going to say, some PTAs will let you do more than they're even supposed to, right? You have to just ask for everything. Ask for the world. Can I do this? Can I be here? Can I, right? Until they say no, because some of them don't know that they should say no to certain things, and they let us go, overboard, and that's okay. And we're still doing good things for them. We're not doing anything wrong, but just ask and ask and ask and get as much as you can.
Yeah. I think it's a fine line with, again, as someone had just mentioned, with marketing, making sure that you're showing you're genuine, and that you have genuine interest to help the kids. And it's not only just for marketing. I think you see this a lot on like Facebook groups, too. And it's like no advertisements, on the Facebook group. But sometimes you just want to put something out there and be like, we have a
Yeah.
festival or we have an event.
Yeah, bring your kids, have a nice family day. Like we're offering this for you.
And the schools,
Come
I
join.
think, kind of teeter on that line because then everyone would advertise, want to contact them. So I think it's, as Heath had mentioned, building that trust and just asking what you can do to help and just being really genuine about that and not being pushy is
Yeah,
important.
and for free. Everything's got to be for free. Very
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, when
Um,
when you're at the school, you're making friends with the security guards and the teachers and the PTA presidents, and just trying to get in with everybody that you can, so that you become this.
Yeah, the custodian. Why not?
And if it,
So he's going to let you in the back, which is going to make your life a lot easier.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
So something that Heath just mentioned in passing, but I want to hit on is he was saying, "Oh, I see an Instagram post that's like that kind of thing." It's really our duty. It's our sacred duty to be keeping our ear to the ground in our local communities. And back in the day, right when I first started, it was like, okay, I would subscribe to all the local papers, right? Now there are no local papers, or there's very few. But being subscribing to all the local Facebook community groups. Every single PTO has got like a feed, right? Whether it's a Facebook thing or an Instagram or whatever. And a lot of the times the person in charge of it is the head of the PTO. And then you have entree to that person. So knowing who those important connector people are also. But seeing the things as they arise, like where do these opportunities arise? Where can you contribute to this thing and make it better? Because it's one thing saying, oh, we have an open thing at our place and you can bring your kids, and trying to get people to motivated to come to you is difficult, right? But to jump on top of something else and add your added value to it, that's actually easier and in some ways more appreciated.
We also started play date groups because, again, like we're working parents of young children and it's very hard to meet the other parents in the schools because we're not the ones picking them up. So we wanted to create community here as well for local schools around here to meet the other kids in their, classes, the other parents. Now, we do this for our kids, and every time we have somebody in our class, they're like, this is so amazing. We love to meet you. It's so nice to see the kids playing together. So now we open that up. It's a free event, and we'll do this again, play date classes at the camp. And it's for people to meet, right? Because no one's really meeting anymore. Everybody is working. Yeah.
It's so important. And I think it's like that reframe of the question. It's not like where can I advertise and where can I do the marketing? It's where are people gathering, right? Who are those people that we want to get at? And that's exactly what you guys are doing and figuring that out and then kind of finding that gap and then solving the problem for that as well. And it's mutually beneficial, right? It's so beneficial for their kids to have opportunities to play and be exposed to camp. And people can kind of sniff through like that fake energy too. Like they can tell that you're doing this in such a genuine way, like you were saying, Marissa. And I think that that genuine part, like, I think maybe we can talk a little bit about how to exude that even more because it's easy for this stuff to come off super salesy, right? And so it's not like you're going into those schools waving the camp flags, being like, yes, this is the purpose of that. But can we dig into that a little bit more? Like, what are some ways that you do this to not come off so salesy and overt with those marketing intentions?
Yeah. I can start with that
Yeah.
quick. I think the number one thing, and I know Shively does this as well because I know them, is starting off with the directors and the leadership team, just being really genuine people in general, and forming before you even make that ask, you have to be willing to want to make friends and want to talk to people. And that is, he knows this, and it's a joke.
information.
The Goodman family has always, we are not afraid to talk to people and we are not afraid to talk for a while. And I think that's what really sets us apart too, is starting off with that is, again, we want to spend that time to get to know the parents on a almost like a friend level and listening to them and understanding. And even if they're not Rolling River people or they're not camp people, Because as we go back to what we said before, it really starts off the trust, because then when you make the ask, you're not just coming out of left field saying, oh, who is this person? And they obviously just want to use that. So a lot of it comes with just the community building and the relationship building amongst your community, and making friends and letting them, as Andy said, you should be the mayor. You want people to know you and understand that. So I would say that would be probably the first thing that would be important, is just making those taking the time to make the connections, not moving them right along, for the people that have 1,700 questions, or if they're upset about, something that happens at school and they're worried about that happening at camp. We're never wanting to take them off the phone or stop the conversation. And we'll talk about it until they're blue in the face, for them to know that we're here and we'll help. Again, we're parents in the community also, which is really nice.
No, you're lucky to have that right now. Make the most of it. I
was to say, you want to make connections when you're at these events, right? You're not approaching people. Hey, what does your child do for camp? It's, hey, and I see you're wearing a Yankees hat. I'm a Mets fan. You stink, right? So, start something like that. Or Islanders, Rangers, that, or whatever it is. Right? Or, oh, there's a kid with it. That kid's wearing a Star Wars t-shirt. Oh, I'm wearing my Star Wars socks today. And like using things like that to build some kind of connection before even talking about camp. And it all goes back to, as Marissa started, who you're sending to these events, right? And have to have leadership and then a street team who is well trained, because we all go to these events and camp fairs and we see these poor people sitting behind the table staring at their phone the whole time. And, somebody spent money on that and wasted their whole day and nobody's getting anything.
And making sure you follow through. Once they realize that you're dependable and you're going to come and you're going to do what you said you were going to do and you're going to follow through, then they're going to come back to you over and over.
Can we dig into this street team thing? I want to hear more about that, and maybe, tell us more.
Sure. So I know, I think we both, in a similar way, we're the beginnings of the street team because we're the ones with the energy and the passion about camp. But we've identified not only full-time members of our team, but seasonal members of our team. And then I know we both have what I call seasonable plus members who are, doing some part-time stuff throughout the year. But once you have these passionate, college kids, young adults, or even some great, older high school kids, if they love camp and they're constantly talking about camp and constantly asking you how they can do more, right? These are the people you want to bring into your team, and then bring them to the events with you. Let them watch you interact with the people and see the energy, listen to the conversations. But these are the people that after one or two times with you, you can then start, sending, some of them on their own or with other people, so you don't have to be at everything. That, I think.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things about this day and age that we're living in, being that private universities cost, so much money, is that there's so many people going to county colleges now, so many really good people, and they're not going away. They're staying local and they're available, and they're like, hey, how can I help? How can I do something? And I just found out today that our first big open house in January is the same day as a big camp fair. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to have to put together a B team, in order to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you need it. It is really important to identify those people that are going to represent your brand in the right way. This is done, again, from experience from working prior to camp. Huge businesses hired street teams. There are companies that is their whole job, is just
the pop-ups. All about the pop-ups.
Street teams. And people love free stuff and they love prize wheel. Honestly, that's something that we added, was even just a straight prize wheel. They don't even care what they're getting as long as it has your name, on it, and some kind of pop-up. So you got to start with that core team. Make sure the branding of the pop-up matches your website, matches your facility. The messaging has to be consistent. And as Heath mentioned, you need to make sure you train them in the right way when they go out into the community. You don't want them giving out, obviously, incorrect information or information, that might be that it's just they're not supposed to talk about or whatnot. So keeping it light, keeping it fun, simple. And I just love the phrase street team, for it. And that's what it is. Because then they're like, where are you going to see that again? They might be at your
Right.
school or at your practice or maybe just on the street, you know?
When I think of these street team kind of people, think about the people that DJs hire to
Yeah.
go to a bar mitzvah or
Yeah.
whatever and dance around, right? Big personalities, vibrant, positive energy, right? That's
Or
the
when
kind
you
of
go to
people.
like sports games and they're like waving down the things in the stands, like I think of that like hype, and it's amazing because it's you're bringing camp to them or vice versa. But that presence just that's what's gonna grab people's attention, which is amazing.
Yeah. And even if the parents are not able to walk over to the street team, the kids are still coming away with some sort of toy with your name on it. So, and they just want the toy. Like they don't care about anything else. They just want to come back with a ball or a keychain or whatever it is. And later, that thing is still in your house and you're going to find it at some point and it's going to, bring up this, okay, well, what are we doing? This conversation, what are we doing for this summer? Do you remember when the kids saw that camp over there? So it doesn't have to be an initial connection in that moment. It's just, again, having something that the kids can walk away with. And then that's bringing up the conversation later for the adults. So we've
Yeah,
actually
people on the
just
street team.
Oh, sorry, Keith. Yeah.
I just say people on your street team are your superstars and your most recognizable people from the summer. And then, as we say all the time, right, you're going to have kids at these events that are already your campers and families that are going to come running up and hugging. And, right, that's always the best marketing when other families see, your current families interacting with you at these events outside of camp.
Yeah. Speaking, just to elaborate a little bit on the street team. So I had an epiphany last year. I was at a Florida Panthers game. They were playing the Rangers in Florida. And the kids were going nuts for the mascots that were running around because the mascots were the one that were throwing all the things out and the t-shirts and everything. And I looked at them and I said, we need to take our mascots to another level because the thing is, you have to think if you're 5, 6, and 7 years old, they don't care that I'm the director of the camp. They want Mickey and Minnie, or they want something that they could, connect to. So we always had mascots at Rolling River. We had Myrtle the Turtle and Ray the Stingray. They were kind of in the background. They weren't, they were. And really after that, we just came back and we're like, we're getting full out professional mascot costumes. We are getting all of our branding that we're giving out is going to be relating around the mascots. And even this past weekend, Myrtle the Turtle was at a Santa then, and Myrtle the Turtle was at a preschool. So it's really just gone to a whole new level with the incorporation of personifying your brand and making it a character, because that's what the kids want. The kids want a character. And we're just going to keep riding that and just going even more with that, with the street team and really a lot of the other branding that we're doing.
Yeah, because for so
It
long,
seems silly, you're like, why am I talking about it? Like for so long, like here we are, we're promoting to the parents, right? We're talking to the parents, we're doing everything for the parents. But the reality is like, what about the kids? Like we're here for the children. Yeah. So this was the whole realization. We're like, we need toys of our mascots. We need books with our mascots. We need the full character, like something so simple that Marissa put into play last year, which was genius. It's just like it's so silly. We have our counselors write a happy birthday card, they're just signing their name. And then we give it out, we send it out on their birthday month from their counselor and the man. Like, yeah, that's incredible. Yeah. Right. And I mean, listen, I get it from my doctor's office and my vet, but I never thought of doing it from my counselors at camp. And when my son got it, he was flipping out. I mean, they need to connect. I think just to circle back with all of that, if the street team is, again, your brand out in the community. So how are you connecting with them and finding ways that connect more with the kids? Well, in the end result, I think help you get more campers and at the end.
Well, and that's such a good shift because we send emails up all the time and it's like, who's reading the emails? The parents are reading the emails, but it's the kids that are going to be bugging their parents to say, sign me up, sign me up, sign me up. I can't miss this. They have this amazing mascot and I want to see that every day of the summer. We do the birthday cards too. And like, who gets snail mail that's handwritten from camp. Like, it's such a special thing for a kid to receive that in the mail that it's like those are the wow moments that we want to go for in promoting camp. And I know when you brought up mascots, Andy, they're speaking your language with the mascot.
Okay.
We do mascot. At Liberty Lake have a mascot.
Oh yeah, we got Fuzzy Man. He just spent the day in Philadelphia making content last week. He was at all the stadiums. He was at all
Love
the major places. Well, because you got to build. I mean, you could send your mascot to New York City for the day and then have all these things, like in case things happen. By the way, I celebrate the Rangers fan living on Long Island.
Yes, I know.
I am wholeheartedly supportive of mascots. Kids do love them. Like they crazy love them. Just crazy obsessed with them. And then making little versions of them and the little things that go on your Crocs, whatever. Like kids just go nuts for them. I think an important point I want to make is that we're talking in this world we live in right now, where so many of our friends live and have jobs that they do from home. And everything is through screens and nice and easy and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of people may think, oh, well, I'll just pay more for SEO and I'll do an online ad campaign and all this kind of crap. That stuff is only going to take you so far. That the things that you guys are talking about is that we sell old time relationships. That is what we sell. And if you're out there personifying it and doing it, and like you said, Marissa, even if you're talking to somebody that's not even going to send your kid to your camp, but you're leaving them with a good taste in their mouth so that they can tell their friends, yeah, you know what? I spoke to Marissa from Rolling River and she's really cool. Like that is all, that goodwill is priceless. And I just want to reiterate that, like, for the young camp directors now that grew up in this techie world where everything is through their screens, that get out of your office, all right? Get off your butt and go interact with your local community, because it's what smart businesses are doing anyway, right? I'm a board member of my local chamber of commerce, and I go out, and every bank now has like a community relationships person. Every big company has people that this is what their full-time job is just going out and making relationships with folks. I mentioned that when my son Justin was working at Lululemon, that while he was there, they made the decree that the managers of the Lululemon stores should be out of the store more than in the store, actually going out and making relationships and finding out who those influencers are and giving them Lululemon stuff to wear and giving discounts and stuff like that. And that's our part of the deal too, because as we're forming these relationships, we're finding out who those influential people are as well, right?
Yeah.
And what our currency is, because a lot of this stuff costs money. There's no doubt about it, because you could be sponsoring little league teams at $500 a crack and you can go broke, But our currency, until you're a completely filled camp, our currency is camp. And we could be giving away camp for free, for half price, for this, for that, for a family that had a fire at their house, for all these kind of things we could be doing. But you have to really, you have to be cool with that, to utilize that.
This Go Camp Pro podcast is brought to you by Whereabouts, a new product from our friends at Camptivities. Ever had that heart-stopping moment when a camper accidentally goes home on the bus, but their guardian was supposed to pick them up? Or when you can't confirm everyone's arrived at camp until noon, even though the morning meeting ended hours ago? What about those little moments that slip through the cracks? Like staff not knowing it's a camper's birthday or missing a special event reminder? You're not alone. Camps everywhere are saying the same thing. They need a less manual, more connected way to manage the camper experience from drop-off to pickup. Introducing Whereabouts, the only camper management system that updates in real time across 3 interfaces: parents, admin, and staff. The parent app is attendance forward and includes all the features families expect: facial recognition photos, event calendars, news feeds, and more, giving parents peace of mind and your team fewer calls to handle. One system, one set of data, everyone in sync, all the time. From knowing where every camper is, to reducing office chaos, to helping staff feel more connected, Whereabouts help your camp run smarter, not harder. Book a demo today at whereaboutsapp.io.
You are a leader of your camp and a pillar in your community. When your customers put tremendous trust in you, Campminder's powerful management tool delivers the day-to-day task support that helps you make every moment memorable and every summer stellar. With 20 plus camp-specific tools in one, Campminder's user-friendly platform is backed by a full team of engineers, who are constantly thinking of ways to help your camp stand the test of time. Visit them today at campminder.com.
I think that a lot of camps, it is kind of a combination of what Jordanna and Andy said, that a lot of camps do a lot of these great things, but they don't know how to show that they do it. Whether it's they don't know social media well, or they don't know how to get out there. And I think because a lot of people that go into camping have more of an education background, that you were saying it before, like they might feel stuck. And I do feel Heath always was a great mentor, to me too, of just wanting to go beyond that and show all the stuff that you're doing. And I think that's what is important for camp directors, is to understand that you might have a great scholarship program, but tell people about it, show that you're doing it, because that is what's going to get your name, out there, rather than, hiding it. And if you don't know how to do it, ask and find resources. There's a lot of people in the industry who do it really well. And it's important to show all the good things that camps are doing all the time.
And I think also we do a lot, right, as camp directors. And so if you don't personally have the capacity to do all these things, I think that street team example is so tangible. Like, it doesn't have to be you all the time. Yeah, it's so special if you're sponsoring a little league team and your name's on the jersey and you show up to the game. That makes a huge difference. But someone who represents your brand, your camp well, can also do that at certain times. You just have to be strategic about that. I also really like how we're talking about those reinforcers, like the tangible things. I know, Heath, last time you were on, we talked about those stickers too, that you just like would hand out, and kids are going home wearing your camp sticker, or those toys that you guys have at Rolling River. And so can we dig into that a little bit about those reinforcers, not just the physical ones, but also maybe veer into some of that online stuff too? Like, how do we marry the two instead of just being separate online and separate in person?
Yeah.
I think that Marissa and Allie do a great job of this. If you go back and look through their Instagram, for example, when they were at IAPA, right, or when they're going to different conferences, they are really keeping their families in the loop on what they're seeing and where they're going. And they bring their kids out to different places where they might use for trips in the summertime. And, just they do a really good job of showing everybody that. And so, you're saying that you're putting it on your website, you're putting it on social media. And I think that's, you just have to make sure everything's in a line. If you're doing an event, we're doing an event tomorrow in Long Island City, I want to make sure that all of our families know that we're doing it. So through email and through posting, so the people who know us come and see us and then tell their friends as well. But I think it's before, during, and after, and constant, right? But people are always, or maybe not always, but people are saying, posting too much, it's too much, it's too much. It really never too much until somebody really starts unfollowing you. And if you watch, that's very rare. And I think that's
Nobody's reading everything.
I'd agree. People want to experience camp and learn about camp through videos. And it really goes back to like YouTube and any of these other like social media, content. And I mean, just from like a young age, that's how they're learning to get any of their information. So when our parents were running the camp, it was all everything was words, everything was the newsletter, everything was just coming out just like that. The emails were so long, the newsletter was 15 pages. No one's reading it. No one has the time for that. And young parents never even did that ever. So we have to really tap into what they're used to and how are they getting their information. Unfortunately, and fortunately, they're getting all their information really on social media. So you have to just kind of dive into that and understand that like that's where people are getting it. So again, like the before, the middle, the after, a lot of it is emails, social, like, and staying in that area. But we also started doing a lot of live, like on social media, and like letting them experience camp live, like while it's happening, because again, the parents are seeing all these other things live. They want to see what their kids are doing live. They want to see what's happening. And it's a way for them to experience it with us, and, way back when we went to camp, or when, we went to sleepaway camp, you would send a kid on the bus for 8 weeks and maybe get one letter and only see them one time for a couple of hours, and then that was it. But, people want to be informed about any and every little thing. And we're starting that, again, going back to the trust, like we're starting that from the get-go, right? You want to learn about camp, we're going to be here. You could see all of our travels, you could see all of our renovations, you could do everything online. I think to answer just your question also from before, it's how are you connecting the community and the street team to the online stuff? It's a lot of it's storytelling, and Heath had mentioned that, and we do that, and and yeah, Heath and Shibley, we follow them, and they do it as well. So not just showing up at the event, but really getting on camera and walking them through the event, that they're doing. Hey, Myrtle's here with Santa. Let's have an in-game interview right now, with him, and then obviously taking great pictures and doing a great post recap, and then you can bring it up again, at a later time. Again, another thing is collabing online with the people that you're working with. So Instagram and TikTok and, Facebook to some extent make it easy to tag people and add, if you're doing an event with a local PAL and you tag them, now all of a sudden you have all their 10,000 followers that are watching the community event that you did, and maybe someone sees you and they start DMing you. So really, it's really important to not just do the event and be done. It's really having that follow-up, remembering those partnership, always just what can you do to continue that collaboration, and also just having someone that's monitoring it. Because the last thing you want is that you collab now on this event you did, somebody DMs you on Instagram, and then nobody ever gets that to them, after. So making sure that you're either you yourself as the director, or you have someone that's really reliable that is going to monitor, that as well. And then all of a sudden now you have your community event and it just exploded in 5 different directions, So really thinking those things through.
The Instagram collaborative posts are really big. It's relatively newish, and if you tag someone, and sometimes again you're almost fooling them into accepting it, and then they're posting it, and now it's going out to theirs. We work with a Brazilian jiu-jitsu company, and they have studios in 5 of our biggest towns, and so if they put their post out in the city and collaborate with us, it's going to all our people, it's going to all their people, and it just builds that community.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. All right. Any last thoughts, my friends? Well, here, I had a quick question. So, because I think Heath mentioned, like, ask for the world, right? And then you might get less, right? So let's say that you call, right? Whatever, you send something to the school or whatever, you get a call back from, like, say, the secretary or whatever, whoever has been assigned to this. And they say, okay, we're considering having you guys come and be part of our spring festival that we do, with our 4th graders, right? So, you guys are going to, like, paint faces or do a gaga or whatever you're going to do, right? What would you ask them to do for you, because you're doing this for free?
Great question. I just thought I just had that, but you could
Well, I would ask them to post as much as possible on social media leading up to the event. Hey, my friends at Shibley Day Camp are coming. Check.
Would you give them a graphic?
Oh, absolutely. No, I'll give them a graphic. I'll send them the content. Post this, copy and
There you
paste
go.
this. Boom. Easy, easy, easy. Here's some flyers if you want to hang around the school leading up to the event. How many people can we bring to the event? And tell me more about the event. What's some of the best things about this event? What else can we do to help it become even better, or continue the greatness?
Yeah.
Being a park district, a lot of the community events are actually run by us. So for us, it's more, they see park district, they want to see some camp people there. They want to, associate it with us. So we have to serve the seniors lunch, and we have to, hand out cookies with Mrs. Claus or whatever, because they're seeing the faces they want to see, and we're keeping us in their thoughts. So.
Yeah, just getting that brand. Yeah, the brand.
Can we give out stickers? Can we choose our location for the event, right? If I get there early, is it okay if I get there early and pick the best spot, right? Where's the face painter going to be? Where's the bounce house going to be, right? Be really intentional about where you're setting up at these, who you're going to be next to, what other activities, what other vendors. so that you really have as
Right.
much information.
And
as
because
possible.
I don't want to be pushy at the event and be giving things away to kids and all, I'll say, hey, I know, you guys like send home like a Friday folder or whatever with the kids and all that kind of stuff. If you have 400 kids, can I make 400 flyers and you send it home with them?
Yeah.
And it's going to be for like a 10% discount.
And sometimes I've actually also found that you don't need to necessarily promote camp, but you could promote something else that's happening at camp that's a lower barrier to entry. So that's always a big thing that I think of is camp is expensive, especially really great private camps, like ours. So what can we do to get them slowly in or get them to have the Rolling River experience? And they don't necessarily need to sign up for summer camp. So maybe we're sending out something about our holiday camp, which is way less expensive to come to over vacation than it is to, come to camp. Or we're doing fall festival and I'm asking you, I don't need you to promote camp. I just want you to promote this event that we have that's open to the community and it's free admission. So I think being strategic about which things you're promoting, it doesn't always have to be summer camp. It could be something else that you're doing that is bringing another step, and just another step closer.
Yeah, it's a soft sell.
Anybody
so-
that comes to your property, even if they are not particularly looking for
Oh,
it, they're another person that can sell. When I was at West Hills, I remember we did the fall festival. We would promote the heck out of it, and I had this great picture with these two kids, and I used it on the front of the website. And a year in, I realized these kids were not campers of ours, never been to camp, but they came to the fall festival every year. They were neighbors, and they were just good kids, but it was still recognizable faces and still a family in the community that would say good things about things that were happening at West Hills, even if they were not particularly campers there.
Rolling River Girls, can you give us the like 30-second pitch on the holiday camp? Like, what is it, generally, like, what do you charge for it? What happens during it?
I do have to give props to Heath because he was the one that started it at Rolling River. So thank you, Heath, for starting that at your tenure at Rolling River. But yeah, holiday camp actually has really exploded, especially since COVID. Basically, we hosted over February and spring break, and it's very flexible. You can sign up for anywhere from 1 to 5 days. And it really is a modified version of camp without the warm weather activities, depending on the time of the year. So they come, they have counselors, they get groups, they do activities. We will run activities here. We bring in partners that will run the activities. It's run from 9 to 4, and it's really a great way for kids who are home to experience, a little bit of camp or, again, just to try. A lot of these kids are trying it out in a much smaller, more contained setting.
Yeah, we use it as like a way for kids to feel comfortable with camp. And especially if the parents, when we're on the phone with the lead, if they're worried about their young child coming to camp, we sign up for holiday camp a couple of days, see how they like it, and then we can figure out enrollment.
We have really branded ourselves, and I think just the summer camp industry in general, we are on when school is off, so when school's out, whether that be for Veterans Day, just a single day, for a whole break, for summer break, for night times, for weekends, that's really where you should be looking at is what can I do when kids are not physically in school that I can offer. And holiday camp is a really popular option. And we are very lucky to have a lot of indoor heated facilities and indoor air conditioned facilities that enable us to host well over 100 kids very easily just with our spot.
And these holiday camps and off-season events are great ways of expanding your relationships. And now you can invite the vendors where you were going out to their places. You invite them into us, right? You work with a jiu-jitsu company. They come in and they can do a little demo, and it's good for them. They're building business, and you're just continuing to build that relationship between your two brands as well.
Well, I admire your work ethic, guys. It's truly admirable. Jordanna, do you have anything else?
I think these are such tangible, great ideas that we're giving to all the listeners too. And just to continue that conversation, because like you were saying before, it's so hard. It's nice your relationship with Heath and with other camps. Like we should all be doing more of this, right? Talking about those ideas because we can all benefit from that. There's lots of campers to go around, and it's so wonderful to share these ideas. Just and to keep yourself going throughout the off season. I think off season's always kind of historically known as that quiet season for all of us, but to turn that off season into relationship season or something else where you can just keep building and building as you gear up for the summer is a good perspective as we talk in December going into the holidays. So thank you so much for sharing all these wonderful ideas.
I think that's a good time for my plug for my tri-state dining hall, where we're going to be talking about marketing to different families and non-traditional camp families. So I didn't tell Marissa yet, but she's going to come help me with.
Very happy to do that. I would say, listen, we're so happy to share these ideas. And as we said before, camp is just a really special industry where everybody, gains more when you share. So I think it's good. And I would say really the last tidbit is keep an eye out, and do some research on some of these bigger companies and see what they do to partner with the community and emulate, copy it, like that's really the best thing. You could take a lot of these ideas that they're doing and bring it down on a smaller scale just to your camp community. So don't be afraid to look at what people are doing at sports, games or at concerts or anywhere else that you might go. And, perfect example, there's Jingle Ball was on Friday. I was just there. How many different businesses were there giving things away, doing interactive, things,
I
before
said,
the
where Roaring River sweat.
yeah. So it's just,
Yeah.
you really see it when you open your eyes, you really see it everywhere you go. And a lot of these things you can adapt to camp and it's just keeping an open mind. So I think that's important. So
Well, that's such good advice and very validating. I know I feel I like go to Toronto Raptors games and I'll see them like shooting the t-shirts out with the gun and I'm like texting my whole team like we need to get one of these t-shirts.
we need a t-shirt gun. Yeah.
I suggest throwing the t-shirts at camp. Listen.
We're going to do that. No,
Justin at Everwood, he made t-shirts that I caught a t-shirt at an Everwood assembly kind of thing, that they were a very, very hot ticket. You just have to think of like the one size fits all kind of aspect of it. That's a tough thing. We have lots of sizes. All right, we're going to wrap it up, folks. Thanks again. We really appreciate it. We want to thank the Go Camp Pro team, AM Skyer, Campminder, Camptivities, and Commercial Recreation Specialists for allowing us to bring this podcast to you. Check out our show notes from this and other episodes at daycamppodcast.com, as well as contact info for Marissa, for Allie, and for Heath. And of course, for myself and Sam and Jordanna. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with another episode of the Day Camp Pod.
The Day Camp Podcast is brought to you by Go Camp Pro and the Go Camp Pro Podcast Network. Find a podcast for camp professionals of every age and stage at gocamp.pro/podcast. Thanks for listening, friends. Hey, Camp Pros, we love that our industry is built on sharing. In order to foster that spirit, we hope that whenever you share an idea that you learned from the Camp Hacker podcast, conference, summer camp professionals group, or wherever else, that you're quick to give credit where credit is due. That way, we can all encourage more camp pros to share the tips and tricks that will make camp better.